Now we're on.
Now we're on.
11, and this is your 11. It's not just that I'm waiting for an hour here or something.
I am so sorry. I mean, I knew I was running late. I did not realize it's a time thing. What can I tell you? What's up?
What's up? We're about to start in a minute, so we better run the test. We won't run the test today because we don't have the time, I guess.
What test?
Well, the testing, if everything is all right, if everything works.
Well, I can't see you because you're obviously projecting
Screen like usual. So
your standby.
I'm standby. I like that.
Oh, I love it. I was going to ask you if you could send me a copy of it so I could use it also. I think it's a really good idea.
You want the whole video? Well, the video is about the in conversation, and that one is
no, just the please stand by.
No problem. No problem at all. So it's 8 and you're 11. So I think we're gonna start. I'm gonna.
Wait, it's not 8. It is 20.
20. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna start someone messaged me on Tumblr because YouTube denies me access to my account, so I can't participate. Says by Lulette in the chat, just reading your pizza things and waiting for Fern. Yes. Okay. By Lulette wrote that. So I'm gonna post the post. I'm gonna post the post because I scheduled it for 20. And
so I should post this on LexLit, correct?
You can reblog it, yes. I just posted it on PWS.
Okay.
So
I should post Google Hangouts or should I post YouTube?
No, I made a post on PWS like usual, and you can just.
Oh, okay. And I'll just reblog that.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Good grief! I am so sorry. I went through a big old bout of depression when I woke up, and I woke up like 2 hours. I woke up like at 9, but I just lay there for like an hour. The usual.
I was napping, so. Okay, then let's start. And I'm gonna start the intro. So, finally online, on air and live on YouTube and on Tumblr, of course.
Are you trying to make me
live on the stream, my friend Fernando?
Are you saying finally that way because you want to make me feel guilty? I mean, remember, I am Catholic, so I know all about guilt.
Then you know how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's exactly. Laughing in your face.
It's not that I mean, I have no life, so I can spend my Saturday evenings with an old man.
Oh, bravo. That was good. All righty. So who are you?
This time I didn't forget, so I have it here. So because last time you complained, so here's your applause. Here's the applause for Fernando.
No, it wasn't supposed. No clicking, by the way. I was supposed to get the booing. You're supposed to get the applause.
Oh, sorry. Then you get no. Then let's. I have something for both of us.
Oh. All right. No clicking.
No clicking, but crickets.
Yes.
Or so, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about?
Who are you?
Who am I?
Yes, introduce yourself. Remember, we talked about this the very first time. We should always introduce ourselves.
You're right. I just got a message that there seems to be no sound. I'll ask the chat question to the chat. Do you have sound?
The real question is, do you want to hear us?
That is the real question, right? Yeah. Let me see if the chat reacts. Amy Montica writes, yep, we got sound. So it seems that is an issue somewhere else. Yeah, the others seem to have sound. Yeah, introduction. Should I introduce myself, or do you want to introduce me?
Hold on, I'm checking here. So everybody's getting sound?
Everybody's getting sound.
Okay.
It seems. So, well, yeah. I'm Pete. I like pictures.
Hold on, I'm checking here. So everybody's getting sound?
Everybody's getting sound.
Yep, I'm getting sound too. I don't know if you just heard it.
So, I heard it.
Well, yeah. I'm Pete. All right. So who are you?
My name's Pete. I like pictures, and I have a glass of wine.
Oh. And what do you do on Tumblr?
Mostly scrolling to the dashboard and complaining about porn bots.
You are being a butthead, as usual. What do you do on Tumblr?
I not only post my own photography on my own blog, TVOOM, which is TVOOM.tumblr.com, but I'm also happen to be one of the admins of a blog called Photos Worth Seeing, on which we support original photography on Tumblr.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, this is better. It covers your face and it takes some of the glare off my glasses. And I can still see your face behind the sheet of paper too, but it's less of your face. Okay, so my name is Fernando. I'm known as Fern on Tumblr because that's the way I sign. I have my own photo blog, qbn-scholar, qbn-scholar, and I am the admin for Luxlets. I'm the gatekeeper for the great stuff that people submit and that our Luxlet crew also submits. They keep me, they're awesome. Just like yours are, actually. I mean, they make you look good.
Actually true. That is actually.
It's true. Trust me, I know, because they do the same thing for me. They make me look good. And I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because they really, yeah, I know you're the same way. You love doing this. So, yes. So what are we going to talk about, Pete?
What are we going to talk about?
I'm going to start crying. Sorry.
We have to have that on camera because I got a message today. Don't make Fern cry. No. Please make him cry because it's adorable. A message that I got today. So it wasn't me. Okay, what are we gonna talk about today? Last time we didn't have the time to talk about the top photographer. This I don't know if it's just on YouTube. Well, it's a web series. Nigel Barker, I guess, is the name. Top photographer. It seems to be something like, no, not only seems to be something like, it is something like Project Runway, but not with Heidi Klum, but with Nigel Barker, and not about models. Well, there are models in there, but about photography. That's what we're going to talk about. And then because we talked about, Fern and myself talked about that whole thing, and we thought that we want to talk about developing your own style, because that was one of the big topics in top photographer style. And then maybe, if we still have time, we're going to talk about black and white photography, the appeal of black and white photography, and the big digital / analog war that seems to be raging on the web. And yeah, I don't think that we get that all covered in these 45 to 60 minutes. But yeah, let's start with Nigel Barker and the top photographer. Fern. I don't have sound. I don't hear you. You obviously. You obviously unplugged yourself. Fern unplugged is my favorite fern. My favorite type of fern. Fern unplugged. Now on sale on Amazon. Fern unplugged. 2 hours silence. It's actually nice to see him. Speechless. Fern, I don't hear you. That is the reason. That is one of the reasons why I want to have a pre-show. Oh, now you're back.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. All right.
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can?
I can.
Okay, so we're good.
We're good. You're good.
Okay. What happened? This is one of the things. I'm going to get a new one of these, a better one. I mean, it's okay, but anyway, so go ahead. So I wanted to start off by saying Nigel Barker. He's actually, some of you who may have watched America's Next Top Model. He was one of the judges. He is also a photographer who used to be a model, which is why he was included in Tyra Banks' judging, as well as participating as a photographer, because he could provide both views of the business and that sort of work. Not a particular fan of his either way, but he is in the business and he does know what he's talking about in his own way. I mean, he's got his own way of doing things, as so many of them do. And that's about it, really. The other thing I really liked about the very first episode, which is when they're photographing the Olympic champion.
Can I butt in here?
Yeah.
Because probably some people didn't see the show.
Yes.
So what is it about? It is about 3 photographers.
4.
4? Right.
Yes.
4. 4 photographers get assignments that they have to fulfill, and they don't have any kind of preparation time.
Yes.
And they just have to do it, and then their photos are judged by Nigel Barker and a second judge.
Yes, and the first challenge was photographing an Olympic champion in the studio. So they had to set up the lights. They had an assistant. They had Nigel Barker's assistant who worked with them a couple of times. They also, I will say, had a nice array of Canon cameras and lenses to choose from. But then the second challenge, what was the second challenge? There was another challenge that was of a model, but it was specifically for a business, for a designer who wanted, who was choosing.
That wasn't the second episode.
Or that was, yeah. So and there were 2 other challenges. The final challenge, I will say, was fascinating because it was getting a spectacular view of New York City and taking photos early in the morning at sunrise of New York City. So in a sense, it was a very cliche thing to do, but it was also something that would show off their originality, which I thought, I don't know what you thought, but I thought it was a really cool idea.
All 4 episodes of that.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, you get to see, in a sense, what I really liked, and especially in the first one, it's not just about the photography and the equipment. It's really about the person and how they behave themselves and how they navigate all of the issues that we come up with as photographers, whether it's the inspiration, whether it's how do you conduct yourself with your client. Fascinating sort of 4, what was it, like 30-minute overviews, or 5, I think. Very short, but still gave you a whole bunch of insight. And seeing, I saw myself in a couple of those photographers at times, in ways that I would have behaved and things that I would have done that maybe after seeing that, I'll try not to do if I'm ever in that situation. I don't know how you felt about that.
Mm. To an extent, yeah. What I found, there are 2 or 3 things that I found particularly interesting. I should switch my camera on. That is because I don't have it on auto mode. That's why we got the idea about talking about style. That style, of course, was a huge topic.
Yes.
Because especially in episode 1, there was this one comparatively young photographer who was so insistent on his style. Well, that's my style. That's my style. And he tried to, at least that was my impression, tried to shape the assignment to fit his style. And he was even asked, why do you shoot that way? Why do you do this way? And he said, yeah, that's my style. And I think his thing was to always shoot from slightly above.
Yes.
Which
something like that, yeah.
And there was the question like, why do you do that? What is the reason why you do that? And he said, well, that's my style. And what I found fascinating over the course of the 4, I saw 4 videos. I don't know if there are more than 4. That Nigel Barker seemed to have seen the style of the different photographers. Of course, he saw more photos and he saw them more in action, shooting, approaching things. And so he was more and more talking about the style of the photographer. And that's his style. And he stands in his own way and she stands in her own way because of that. And she could develop her style this way and this way. So that was kind of for me, kind of an interesting thing to see, because but we're going to talk about that later. That's one of those things that you read everywhere and hear everywhere, not only in photography, but in art in general. Develop your own style. And there's a big question, is style something that you can put on yourself or something that really develops automatically if you keep on working?
Yes.
Another thing that struck me that, I mean, it was obviously kind of let's say a sponsored, to keep it nicely, a sponsored video series that they showed cameras, they showed equipment, but it wasn't too much upfront. So yes, it was Canon cameras, yes, Canon lenses, and yes, there's always the newest of the new things. And for me, that showed one thing even more, that it doesn't really matter which camera. And it was also, today you're going to shoot with that camera, no preparation time, which also shows, at least to me, that it doesn't really make a difference, because basically every camera works the same. It doesn't really matter. You have to know how to set your aperture, your focal length, your shutter speed, your ISO, and that's it. And the rest is the photographer and not the camera.
I just posted the link to Top Photographer on Tumblr, on good Lord, on Luxlit, if you want to reblog it later.
I have it in the announcement post of.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're so smart. Okay. Well, it's on there. All right. So you know what? I'll just remove it since you have it on the announcement post. How's that? Boom. I'm still catching up. I'm sorry, everyone. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And the question of style, and it's funny. How do we? Oh God, the light. Oh, sorry. Oh God, your face. How do we define that? And do we have a style sometimes in a specific type of photography, and then sometimes when we veer out of it, does our style change? Do we consciously change our style? What influences our style? Because really, I was thinking also on the way over here, this goes back to the late, great John Berger and his whole idea of ways of seeing and of looking at images and understanding images, and how do we bring all of that to our photography? And does it matter? I mean, once you develop your own taste and your own style, why do you do it? Do you change it to please Nigel Barker and the clients? And if that's what you want to do, then that's fine. Or do you do it because you're someone who wants to take pictures of your little town where you live, and you find really interesting things that may not be fascinating, artistic, and spectacular, but you still bring a certain flair, visual flair that still draws you in and tells you a little story, picture by picture of the place. You see what I mean? So it's also deciding where you want to be, to me, by the way, and this has been my decision process. Looking at all of the types of photography, looking at what I'm comfortable with, but what also still challenges me. Because I don't know about you, but every time I look at my photos, I'm terrified. I am terrified. And I've learned to accept that sometimes, like the other day, and actually, I'll tell you, I just went out shooting on the 16th. I went to San Francisco. I took some great photos, but I also have been dying to take pictures of this building for the longest time. And every one of those pictures has potential, but it's not good. And there's like 40 photos of this place that I'm going to have to dump. And how does my style play into that, and trying to impose my style and try, you know what I mean? It's that whole challenge of your vision and learning to balance. I don't know if I'm making sense. I think I'm right.
I think the question of style is we have to talk about is there's if you're approaching, let's stay at photography. If we're approaching photography first and foremost as an art form and or as a hobby, or in a professional way, in terms of, do I see my photography as something that I have to sell, that I have to please my clients with? And if I have an assignment, that's 2 years ago, I was asked to be the photographer for 2 weddings. And I didn't want to do that. Well, I did want to do that because I was curious, because I never did something like that before. I have a bit of experience in portrait photography, and I have a bit of experience, well, kind of a lot of experience in documentary videography, but I never did something like a wedding shooting. So someone approached me, was the girlfriend of one of my colleagues, said, "Ah, my sister's gonna marry, and she's looking for a photographer for her wedding." I said, "Yeah, I know someone." No, I was talking about you. And then I can't do that. I'm not a wedding photographer. And yeah, but you can do that. And I saw your photos, and I showed her your photos. And how can you show her? I mean, I take photos of trees. How can you show her my photos? Yeah, but she'd like that. And can I give you? Can I give her your number? I say, "How quick you can give her my number?" So whatever. In the end, what I said I cannot, and that's I think that's the big difference between an amateur photographer and a professional photographer. The professional photographer has to deliver, while the amateur photographer, and that's what I said. I'm not a pro. I cannot promise anything. I cannot promise you 1 photo. I cannot promise you 200 photos. I cannot promise you that anything will be that any photo is something that you like. So, and they said, yeah, okay, just do it. And there will be people on the wedding who will take photos. So we will end up with photos. So, and if something turns out good, and in the end they were, at least they told me, then they were happy. I hope it's true. But of course, we talked about what do you imagine, and can I do that? And that's what I still had kind of the plan B, that I said, I'm just an amateur, right? I cannot guarantee that. Well, the pro has to deliver, and so the pro has to have, let's say, the style as sort of what sets them apart from their fellow photographers. So I can do that. That's what I do. If you like that, cool. If you don't like that, then maybe I can provide something else. And while the amateur photographer doesn't have to rely on the style, and doesn't have to rely on oh, we have Russian hackers on the chat. That's just what I see. How cool. Can we somehow throw them out? That would be cool. Let's block them. How cool is
What are
that?
they saying?
I can't say that because we're safe for work.
Oh, it's a little too late for that. Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you know they're Russian hecklers?
Yeah, because it said it is what it said, Russian hacker, and Russian letters.
Oh, you read Russian?
It's obviously Russian.
Oh, but you don't know what they're saying.
While some of these things were in English.
Don't worry about it. Just
Well,
ignore it.
it was just so where was I?
Pretend you're me and I'm listening to you and ignore it.
I did. I banned him.
So anyway, but you know, and the thing is, and I'm glad you said that about the oh, that's fine. I take pictures of trees. Oh, go ahead and take pictures anyway. And I'm sure you know this as someone who does video. And if you're a doctor, or if you're like with me with technology, oh, you know technology, help me fix my stereo. Oh, you know technology, help me do, help me fix my computer, help me fix my hair dryer, help me whatever. And the thing is that with photography, it's the same thing. Oh, you're a photographer, you can do this. And it's like, no, you can't. And it's that on the one hand, it's their perception of what we do as photography, which is like so much stuff, which is why we have to decide and learn how to say no, and their expectations once we say yes. Because I'll tell you what happened to me very early on when I was still shooting film before digital. This is like this is 20 years ago, and or before digital was a viable option. And an artist, asked me to take a photograph of one of their pieces of art, and because they wanted to use it for their business card and so on. And it turned out I didn't think about the fact, oh, you need lighting, you need this, you need that. I just used the regular light and took some pictures. They were okay, but the person wasn't exactly happy with what I did. I mean, there was no pay involved, but it's like, you asked me, I did you the favor. What were your expectations? And the fact that I didn't know, I also will admit it's not just their responsibility or their not understanding, it was also my not understanding. Now that I understand photography a little more, and I think that's the other thing that I would tell anybody who's thinking of seriously promoting themselves, even as an amateur photographer. When you start telling people that you are a photographer of any kind, make absolutely sure that you're already familiar enough and comfortable enough so that you can say no, or you can say yes. And if you say yes, you know what you're doing, at least to some degree. And if you're experimenting, you tell them these photos might, you know what I mean? So you don't just go, yeah, sure, I'm a photographer, let's do this. No. And I think that getting back to Top Photographer proved that in that very first episode brilliantly. I have to say, I'm a photographer. No, you're not. You're a type of photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of one person specifically who I was really surprised, given the type of photography they did. They said there was their style in what they did, and how miserably they failed. Oh, yeah. I'll just leave it at that, because, dude, this is your box, and you still. I mean, it's people, and so yeah. So know and understand and go forth. All right. Anything else?
That's really a thing, and it's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, ever. And that I'm talking about videography, of course, was that someone like a veteran videographer told me. He said, the best decisions I ever made in my business life was to turn down some jobs because I wasn't sure whether I can do them. And because that's the thing, there are no excuses. If you get an assignment, you have to fulfill it as a pro. And so if you can't do that, then better be upfront and say, no, I can't do that. Because if you say yes, you have to deliver. And you do that once, you do that maybe twice, that you can't deliver what you're supposed to deliver, and then you're out of the business, because it's simple as that.
And then there's also, I just want to add one thing too, there's the enjoyment factor. Even if you can do it, if you don't like doing it, why do it? I mean, I can understand if you're broke and you need the money. Okay, maybe for that, if you're good at it and you want to do it. But sometimes you're good at something, but you just don't enjoy it. Or maybe you used to enjoy it and you don't anymore. So, you know, make absolutely sure, and I'm big on this, whenever possible, if you can keep loving what you're doing, that's the other crucial part of it too. But yeah, that's absolutely perfect advice.
I thought you were talking longer, so
What are you trying to say?
No, I was just shoving.
Anyway, next topic, or are we done with the top photographer?
There was one, because I made notes. My problem is I can't read my own writing anymore. I think exactly that was what I got out of that is that with every art form, there's this triangle of technical ability, social abilities, and an artistic vision, and everything. Each of these three have to be there. You can't. I mean, if you're a landscape photographer, you can go out because mountains and trees and flowers won't complain usually. But if you're working with people, you have to have social skills, and you have to be able to market yourself, and you have to be able to communicate with the people in front of the camera, or with clients. That is also something that many people underestimate, that you have to be able to communicate with those people who will pay you. And because people are often not very keen on paying you, even if you if you do good work. So that's also something to have in mind. And another thing, what I wrote down, but that's actually, yeah, that was what I find. I thought that was mean. On the one hand side, I thought it was mean. Later, I realized, okay, because there was this model shooting, and one of these guys said, so I have no about fashion shooting, model shooting, fashion shooting. And he said, I have no idea about fashion. I have no idea about hair and makeup. So what do I do? But they had makeup artists. They had people who are in the business. And this guy, he just went along, and he said, I want this, I want that, I want that. Even though he said, I have no idea what this is all about. And I really had to laugh when he had 30 minutes preparation time, and 5 minutes before the shooting, he asked the makeup artist, do you have any suggestions? So clear failure in communication. And either I switched your sound off or you switched your sound off. Fern.
I am muted.
Ah, you muted yourself, yeah. So that's because I think that is, if you, and I think this is the last thing that I want to say about that. I once talked with a photography teacher, and he said, because we were talking about art and all the important stuff that's important for us here, and he said, well, see, I'm a photography teacher. My job is to teach people how to use their cameras. And my job is to teach them technique, and my job is to teach them the history of photography. My job is to teach them, to an extent, how to see things, and teach them how to teach themselves to see. But my job is not to make them artists. And that's also something that I think is quite interesting, and I found interesting in that sense, that yeah, it can be that you have to do stuff you're not really safe with, but then use what is there. And so if I have a makeup artist, and I have no idea about makeup, then I'll ask them, what would you want to do? You have the experience. And that's what I had to do in my job with video and stuff. And I'm a makeup artist, and I say, okay, tell me what you're about to do, and explain to me why you do that, and then do what you think is right. And so my vision is only to that way valid, in big quotes, as long as I know that it fits the subject. And if I have an assignment, I have to first and foremost please my client and have to fulfill the assignment. And you're muted still.
Not muted now. No, totally. I totally agree. And it's interesting because in the end, I would argue that no matter what you're photographing and no matter how much of an expert you are in that kind of photography, you still, one of the posts that I think was on Let's Talk Photography and on LuxLit was one about that when you're a photographer and you shoot local, locations and so on, and you've got a team, the team is what makes the photograph. And actually one of the best learning experiences I had, and I think I shared it on LuxLit quite a while ago, was Richard Avedon. It was like an hour and a half audio recording of him doing a presentation at San Francisco's Modern Art Museum, or Museum of Modern Art. And he brought his crew, including the guy who did the developing for his photographs. And each one of them took turns to describe the process and talk about this was for a showing of his black and white American West portraits, which was one of his final great projects that he did. And so listening to all of that and getting to understand, and him acknowledging he would be nothing without a good developer. He would be nothing without this person, without that person. And also listening to him talk about, hey, I went shooting for 2 weeks in Texas, didn't get one good photograph, and I knew it was over. When Richard Avedon says 2 weeks and not one good photograph, you know that when we go out and take 30 crappy pictures, we're golden. I mean, it's no big deal. This is Richard Avedon with all the money, all the equipment, and a team of people backing him up, and he still couldn't get a good photograph. But I think it's that communication that is crucial, and it's the part that is I absolutely agree with you, and thank you for bringing it up. I think it's totally overlooked, because even the person who's developing your photographs, or even the people that you're going to be working with who might be promoting your photographs and so on, if you go into art or whatever, you're still going to have at some point, even you with your trees, if you decide to move beyond just posting pictures on social media, and even then you have communication, that's one of the things we love about Tumblr, is that we have communication with other people about our photographs and eventually other stuff. So there's always that human factor in there that you can always choose to ignore it, but anyway.
Absolutely. I just by Lulette, because she obviously is not able to participate in the chat on YouTube, she messaged me on Tumblr saying, I'd say style is intention and also the intelligence to welcome everything we shoot, whatever the primary intention, and play with it with intention or not. Deep topic.
Yes, totally. And even if that intention is just following the moment, even if that's your intention, but there is always what you bring to the photography. Yeah, totally. Yes. You should be on here with us.
Definitely. So invitation by Lulette.
Yes.
So join us, and
yes.
we will be having, and maybe that's interesting, because we will definitely be having guests in the next conversations. So we just decided that today we won't, because it was kind of a last-minute decision. So,
Yeah, we almost didn't do one for January. If you realize, we've been doing one a month.
right. And we will continue that, I hope.
Yes.
I think for me, style, that's something, because I never, but I never did that with any kind of artistic endeavor, whatever you might call that. I never thought about style. I just did what I liked, and I was comparatively surprised when, I think it was Ted, who once messaged me and said that he went through the archives of my blog and found, I think we talked about that once, Fern, in a private conversation. And that is it. I always liked your pictures, but there was this one moment in time when it clicked. It was like flipping a switch. And I checked that, and I also have the impression now that there was this one distinct moment when suddenly something changed, and which obviously was something that, and I can't say what it is. The only thing that I know that I see is that obviously I like rather pictures from a distance and then don't go so close. But that's the only thing that I can say about my style, and that I obviously rather prefer colorful pictures than.
Yes and no, because you do have your side blog.
Yes, but
which, you know, I'm in love with a lot of those images, and they are not at all like your other images.
Yeah, I can't say that. I'm too close to them.
No, you know, because we've talked about this privately, and we've reblogged a couple of the pictures. But I will say, yes, there is we have a specific style. I totally agree with you. I can tell you the first person who ever mentioned to me, "You've got a style, this is it," was actually Emmylou Harris, who is one of the people who I'd like to bring on here, friend, colleague, I mean, great photographer. But I also understand that, just like with you, you have your tree style, and then you have your other style or styles. And there is a moment, because I agree with you about the moment. I can kind of remember when things clicked. Excuse me. But yet again, there can still be another moment in time when you know, and you can experiment. I mean, there's a photographer on Tumblr, I won't mention any names, who does these gorgeous nature photography, if you will, for the most part. But
thank you. It's me. I'm the land.
No, I said nature. I didn't say landscape. No. To me, there's a difference. And some of those images are abstract, literally abstract, and yet you know what you're looking at. But yet this photographer is also very gradually veering out. And I see that with a lot of photographers. I see that with someone who does incredible abstract architecture photography, but who veers out every once in a while and does something a bit different. There's quite a few. I mean, now the more I think about it, there's quite a few. And I have commented with some of them. Some of them who never have people in their photography and all of a sudden bring people in, maybe at a distance. But bringing in that human element definitely affects the kind. I mean, it's like if you started to bring people into your tree pictures, it would be a totally different kind of photograph, or a different kind of story that you're telling. So yes, style is fluid. I mean, you can stick to it and do it all the time, and God bless you if that's what you like. But it can also change, and that's my 2 cents with style.
I think. I mean, there might be a couple of different definitions of style. For me, style is rather a way of seeing things than actually showing things, because the way I see things, the way I perceive things, automatically will shape the way I show them. So I think that showing thing, and that's what kind of bugged me a bit with that guy at the top photographer, who said, well, that's my style, and I stick to that. And it was rather a a way of doing things and not doing things for a certain purpose. So when someone says my style is black and white photography, then I say that's not a style. That's just a way how to express your style. Because if you choose to, and I think maybe we can, if that's okay with you, maybe we can build the bridge to black and white photography. If I choose to only shoot black and white or only make black and white pictures, then it has a certain reason. And the way to do that, for me, as I see it, I don't say that I'm right, it's just the way I see it. The way to do it is not the style. That's just a way to express the own style, if that makes sense.
So here's a quote, one of my favorite quotes. I actually have it as one of my signatures for my emails. This is from Emmylou Harris on an interview show called Tavis Smiley. Someone said once, I read somewhere, that style is a product of your limitations. And I think that is absolutely genius, because what she was talking about was, because he asked her, you know, I don't know if you know who Emmylou Harris is. Emmylou Harris is a country western singer, or a country singer, composer who's absolutely brilliant, has been around forever. Who also, by the way, if you ever want to hear some amazing music, there's 2 albums by a group called Trio, which was Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, and Linda Ronstadt. And it's very much in the vein of country music, and some of it is very traditional country music. Absolutely some of the best vocals and music ever, because all 3 of them are multi-talented. But anyway, what she was talking about was, you know, he asked her, well, do you sing certain kinds of music? And she said, no, I know where I'm good, and I know how far I can go, and sometimes I will reach beyond that, but I still know that I have certain limitations, and with my limitations, I can still create really awesome and sometimes different, and you know what I mean, and experiment. But again, it goes back to even the whole idea of, you know, this is the kind of photographer that I am. No, I am not going to go shoot your quinceañera, your 15s, your sweet 15, your wedding, your bar mitzvah, bas mitzvah, whatever. Yes, or yes, I'm a wedding photographer, and I'm not going to go and shoot your trees.
Right.
You know. And that's your style. So yes, I agree with you. We're agreeing too much. This has got to stop.
Okay, then maybe we should stop then, because we seem to agree too much today. No, let's talk about black and white. I mean, you're more of a black and white photographer. See, because as I said, I'm mostly, which I found comparatively interesting, is that when I was in school and later in university, and well, even as a kid, I doodled a lot, and I always had my pen with me, or my later with ink and with brushes. I never did color, and I was even when I did a lot of art classes, and we had to paint, and I was terrible in painting. I never was able to do color. I still don't know if I could do color with my photography, but with photography, for me this was never a question to do black and white, and it wasn't a conscious decision. It was like, I see things, and I want this, and I want that, and I wanted to achieve this and that, and it was always color. And only last year I started to dive more into black and white photography, and realized that. But it's also not something that I say, okay, I want to do black and white, but I see something and I say, okay, that will work better in black and white. So for me, that is just like color, a tool, rather than something that I do that. I do black and white, or I do color. I do what I think fits what I want to show, or rather than I want to do this or want to do that. So it's like my camera is a tool, and not something sacred. You're muted.
So yes, I'm muted. Well, because you know what, I want to avoid that flipping back and forth. So if I laugh or
Yeah,
something,
no,
you know what
I
I mean?
switched by hand, so you can stay unmuted.
Oh, you can't. Oh, you are switching by hand. Okay, yeah. So the thing is, I totally agree with you. But I will say, visually, for my images, I am attracted more to black and white. And I'm more satisfied with my black and white images. My history is the same as yours, except I, for some reason, how can I put this? You know, my whole complementary color thing, that I love complementary colors. And I'm good at, when I was painting, I was really good at working with just color. And very abstractly, just color. But when it comes to reproducing and capturing, especially almost any color, and I'm getting a little better now at tweaking the colors in my photos to get what I see and what I think it should be. But it's color is just very difficult for me. And a lot of times, and I just went through this yesterday with some photographs, I was very satisfied with the color images, I have to say. But I also want to convert them into black and white, because I'm learning that I'm seeing in black and white. And there have been specific times, the pictures that I took of these ducks flying off the water, I saw the possibility of trying to recreate humbly an Escher sketch or drawing. I saw it in black and white, literally saw it in black and white. And it really, the two images, but especially one of them that I got, absolutely beautiful, I think, black and white photography. But I still also have the images talk to me. And when they say I'm done, and they're usually in black and white, then yes. And for example, remember the photo by which we posted it now on Luxlit, so I can talk about it. The one by Cyril that has the very angular. That's a color image that was stunning. Yet I have to say, I do that kind of photography. I wouldn't see what he saw. And I know I wouldn't see what I possibly would have taken the same photograph from the same angle and converted it to black and white. And it might have been just as good, although I doubt it, because his color photograph was stellar. So it's you know what I mean? It's just a matter of you know, and one other thing too, and again, because this is something that we all think about so very often. You have to satisfy yourself. There are a lot of Tumblr photographers who post incredible images who only get 1 or 2 or 3 likes, sometimes no notes whatsoever. But they keep posting and they keep taking photographs because they love it. And I think that your own loving your own what you do in the process and the final product is crucial. You will always find an audience eventually. And I will say, one of the great things about Tumblr, again, for us, is that we have a photography community. And again, I'm going to cry. And I was crying about this when I was talking to Millman about it, because we were talking about this, that I mean, there are these photographers who are stellar, who will sometimes say to me, this photograph is inspirational. When that has happened.
Never happened to me.
Oh, please.
No, really.
Yes, it has. Come on. There is. Oh, please. Yes. And I can tell you one of your images that we reblogged, actually the two that I can think of off the top of my head. The one with the young woman in black and white with the card, and it was something about memories or something from your 365. From your alternate Tumblr, and it's just her body, and she's crouching, and it's almost a sexual image, but it really it avoids it because there's yes, yes, it's you, yes. And then the one that I just posted recently of that very old stereo with the smile on its face. That's a gorgeous image. That image, I would love. That is such. I would love to take photographs like that. I think I could. I mean, if I, and that's the thing. I also think, you know, a lot of us could really, but it's not how I see things. And I possibly would have done it in black and white, which I think in that image would not have. Again, that's another image that's perfect in color. Could be just as good in black and white, but it's perfect in color because it gives you that retro style, that look. That image was stunning. And some of your photographs, the same thing. They're inspiring. Whether I replicate them or not, that's something different because it's not within my hamster wheel. But that they inspire me when I go out shooting. All of these photographs that I see, you're please shut up, you big dumbass. But to have this kind of feedback from people who sometimes do exactly what we do and sometimes do not, but they get it. Even if it's a small audience, that's awesome. And I cannot deny that is, I mean, at this point, I would keep doing photography either way, but having that audience has helped immensely, and having that feedback has helped immensely. So yeah,
Absolutely.
but yes, your foot. Please shut up.
No, what I meant, and I probably worded that wrong. I never had, like you said, this kind of, yeah. Let's keep that. Maybe we talked. Well, you made me speechless. Thank you. Well, the audience thanks you that you made me speechless. Probably. I have this because I have two quotes. I looked up two quotes, and I want to throw them at you and ask you about what you think about. And one of them is, everyone knows that. It's by Ted Grant. And he said, when you photograph people in color, you photograph their clothes. When you photograph people in black and white, you photograph their souls. Opinions. And you're muted again. You don't have to mute you, or you unplugged yourself. Now you're back.
Okay. Yeah, I need a better. You know what happens? I just touch it even lightly, and it just jiggles. I guess it's something is broken in the cable. So, look, here's my thing about portrait photography, and it's funny that I was thinking about this on the way over here yet again. One of the things that fascinates me about portrait photography is how we so often tend to speak that way about, oh, it captures the person's soul. And that's just such a big old 18-wheeler truckload of manure. Because quite honestly, what we capture is a moment. I'm thinking specifically of, and I can't remember the photographer's name, the famous portrait of Winston Churchill with the cigar, where he's sitting like this, and the guy looks like he could open a can of whoop ass and just share it with everybody because he was pissed. And it turns out that the story is that the photographer had said something to him about no cigar or something, and he just looked, and he took like 100 photographs of Churchill and nothing, and all of a sudden he got that one powerful image of the powerful Churchill who represented his public persona as someone who stood up to the Germans and said, hell no, you'll kill us all, but hell no. So I think that's the one part that he captured. Speaking of Richard Avedon and his Western, American West series, one of the things that I find unsatisfying about that series is that a lot of the photographs are just the person with no expression. And sometimes, yes, there's like a couple of photographs where There's one specifically that I'm thinking of where it's this guy who, and again, their story, he was some kind of worker or something, and he's in his clothes and his back is humped over, and you see his body telling a story. I get that. But a lot of Richard Avedon's later portraiture that was independent is these blank looks that are trying to capture the person. And to me, you're just basically capturing their clothes or the person, or there's no life. And maybe it's because I'm influenced, and I'm going to sound really tacky. But speaking of Nigel Barker, one of the things that in Top Model that they would tell the women constantly, and eventually there were male contestants too, but by that time the show was just really bad, I stopped watching, was the whole smizing thing. You smile with your eyes. There should always be something. There is nothing quite as dull as just this vapid expressionlessness. Sometimes it works, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it works. But this whole idea of then you can read, when you look at the Mona Lisa, she may not have an expression. And let's talk about portraits. But the bottom line is she does have an expression. You have no idea, and you're drawn into that. And so I think it even depends then on what kind of photography you're trying to do. If you want to capture something other, that's fine. But if you want to capture the person, if you want to capture the look of the person, if you want to capture something in that moment or something that you're, one of my photos of my kids, the last one that I posted, not a lot of likes, not a great photograph, not a great portrait, but I caught him at a moment where I saw in him, and you can, and I told him, how do you want to, I asked him, how do you want people to see you? And he just stopped, because he's a clown, and he stopped and he thought, and it was a beautiful moment of just looking out and thinking. Granted, I see it because I'm there, but I know that it conveys that in that photograph. But it's just a moment, that whole soul thing. No, and black and white photography for clothes can be just as stunning as color photography. So to me, those kinds of restrictive pronouncements of this is the way things are, they themselves limit, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's how I feel about that. Sorry, that's a touchy subject for me.
Let me make a blunt statement.
I'm full of shit.
No, I won't make that. I think about color and or black and white. Okay, no, I'll make a blunt statement. I think that it's, and we have to, as a base, really take at least decent photography. I think it's harder to make a good color photograph than a good black and white photograph, simply for the fact that the world we live in, as long as we're not, we don't have achromatic vision, is colorful. So when we take a photo of our three-dimensional, colorful world, we transform it into a two-dimensional image. So we abstract, how do we say abstractize? Is that the word?
No, we abstract, yeah.
We abstract what we see. And by taking out the color, we make another abstraction to that. So that's what we do. And that is what looks more unusual, and therefore we look closer. You as a painter, you know that. You know the trick. Taking your painting, putting in front of a mirror to see it flipped, to realize, does that image work? Does the composition work? Or you put it upside down. Same happens with taking out the color, because color distracts. So if you use color, color is always a symbol. And so, of course, if you don't do anything with color, with photography, we work with light. We work with brightness and darkness. We work with intensity of light. And if we have that next level of color in there as well, it becomes even harder. And controlling color is really a tough thing because every color also has an emotional meaning. So I say that color photography, making a great color photo, is harder than black and white photo, because with black and white photos, if it's a great photo, the composition has to work. Of course, there's emotion in there as well. No question about that. We have to have the contrasts right. We have to, but as soon as color comes to play, there's a whole new world in there as well. So I found that other quote that I think sums that up quite beautifully. It's by Paul Otterbridge, who said, "One very important difference between color and monochromatic photography is this. In black and white, you suggest. In color, you state.
Amen.
Much can be implied by suggestion, but statement demands certainty, absolute certainty."
Yes.
And I think that is something, and well, we're already talking for an hour, so I think we keep the analog digital wars for next time. I think that is one of the huge things that digital photography did for photography, because it's much easier to control color, because we have the possibility to play with different color channels, with curves, etc. So of course, one of these things that I personally think it's ridiculous to say what we can do now with digital is so much more than we were able to do with analog. There's almost nothing that we can do now with digital photography that wasn't already possible with analog photography. Of course, it was more difficult to do, but it was possible. But it's easier, and you can manipulate color much more and much easier. And so maybe it has become easier to make powerful and really working color photos with the digital equipment, with the software. But still, it's harder to make a great color photo than a great black and white photo, because there is another level in that.
Oh, totally. Well, and just like I said, I personally have issues with color to begin with. But yeah, totally, because also black and white is more forgiving. In black and white, you can do stuff and hide stuff in ways that in color, because there's the color, the fluidity of color and the variance, and it's not just red for 2 inches. I mean, unless you're taking a picture of a red block. Yeah, totally. You can, yeah, totally agree with you. Now, I will also say, excuse me, having said that about portrait photography and everything, look, there are still stunning, I never limit myself, or when I'm looking at photos for Luxlit, I never limit myself as to what I like and what I don't like, in the sense of this style or that style, or whether it's film or digital, or whether it's iPhone, or whether it's well, we were talking about a specific type of photography the other day, and there's stunning photographs, and there's some people who will say, I don't like landscapes. Let's say I don't like landscapes. But there's still stunning landscapes. So I think that, even again, getting back to the whole style thing and bringing that into this, I think one of the things that helps us expand our style is understanding all of this, understanding where we fit into it, how we we can sometimes copy a little from here, copy a little from there, and sometimes unconsciously. But yeah, I think everything that we've discussed sort of works together in developing each one of us as a photographer. And while we might have our style and might have everything, we still also need to think about, ooh, look at that. See what I mean? Because something sticks whenever you look at stuff. Anyway, that's it. I have nothing. No more philosophy. I'm deep, dude.
You are. Which is definitely good. So yeah, keep it at that, and we keep the analog digital board for next time. Fern and I decided that we will work out a schedule for the next in conversations, and I think we're gonna. Of course, things can change, but I'd say as soon as we have it, we'll post it on both blogs and Photos Worth Seeing and on Luxlet. And so everyone who wants to join us, either on video or just in big quotes on audio, of course, that is also possible. Please message us. So we'd really love to have you here. Also, send us suggestions. You can do that as a comment on the post on Tumblr, or you can message us. You can message to TVOOM, my blog TVOOM, or to Fern qbn-scholar. Please do that on our personal blogs and not on on Photos Worth Seeing or Luxlet, because they might get lost if you send the suggestions to those blogs, because our inboxes kind of are already quite filled. So one thing maybe for those of you who watched us frequently, we will record the next photo critiques, but it won't be live, so it will be posted in the next days, because we found that it is simply a bit too complicated to focus on the photos and talk about the photos and switch back and forth cameras. So it's already hard enough to do that with just a conversation. So yeah, that's it. Anything to add?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because it's really, I actually noticed it this last time that even while, and I know you do the same thing, because while I was editing, I saw it, that while I was talking, you were looking at the picture. While you were talking, I was looking at the picture, and we both start out with our own opinions, but it's this process of each of us feeding and seeing, and I'm going to speak, I think, for both of us. We love doing this, not because of the critiquing itself, but the learning and the seeing and the conversation about this sort of thing. That really, how often do we get together, any of us? I mean, I'm sure some of you are really lucky and have friends like that. I have, for example,
I don't.
You have no friends. And it's understandable. You have people who do charity and put up with you, but that's a whole other conversation. But you know what I mean? And even if you do have those friends, every once in a while you talk, but it's not really. So actually looking at these images and being able to understand and explore them in depth is wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm so grateful, Pete, to you for putting up with me.
Can you all write that down, please? That Fern was actually nice to me, right, for one moment. We have it on video. Oh, video is forever.
Yes, video is forever. All right, so let's close, and let's close the live. We'll talk for a second, and then we'll do the photos. And I'm going to send. Well, go just let's end.
Let's end. Play the end music. So I think that was the right one. Bye bye till February.
It's almost February.
I have to wait until the music stops so that I can actually. I like it. It is so long. 31 seconds. I will shorten that for next time.
You think?
And you'll get your final applause for the evening. And I get my boo.
It's my boo. Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time.